7 best Mercedes models are shocking everyone. Mercedes owners are not all broke. The three-pointed star does not automatically mean a $4,000 repair bill, and the used Mercedes market is nowhere near as scary as the forums make it sound. Here's the real story. Buyers still price these cars like it's 2015, back when German luxury meant guaranteed heartbreak. The mechanics who actually work on these engines every day know better, and the market simply hasn't caught up to them yet. One of the cars on this list drives like a small SUV, but starts under $10,000. The one sitting at number 1 is the same badge people pay 6 figures for new, available today for less than a base Toyota Highlander. These are 7 Mercedes-Benz models that are shockingly undervalued right now. Let's get into it. Number 7, Mercedes-Benz ML350 W164, $6,000 to $14,000. The W164 Generation M-Class runs a 3.5-liter V6, making 268 horsepower paired with real 4, Matic all-wheel drive, and a full-size cabin that seats 5 in comfort. It was engineered on a unibody chassis shared with the E-Class, so it drives more like a tall sedan than a truck-based SUV. It also came with a genuine low-range transfer case and a locking center differential, so it can actually get dirty off-road instead of just looking the part in a mall parking lot. Why it's sitting. Everyone remembers the earlier M-Class generation's reputation for electrical gremlins, and that stigma unfairly followed this completely redesigned generation. You're getting a 3-row comfortable all-wheel drive luxury SUV for less than a used Honda CR-V. Known issue worth naming. The wiring harness routed near the battery tray corrodes over time and can trigger random electrical faults, so ask if it's already been replaced or sealed. If you've made it this far, you clearly want the real breakdown and not just the highlight reel. So hit subscribe now before the next value gap on this list, because it only gets bigger from here. Number 6, Mercedes-Benz SLK350 R171, $8,000 to $16,000. The SLK350 uses a 3.5-liter naturally aspirated V6, making up to 301 horsepower on later models, wrapped in a 2-seat roadster with a retractable hardtop that turns it into a coupe at the push of a button. It's light, it's tight, and it still gets mistaken for something twice its price at a stoplight. It'll hit 60 in under 6 seconds, and the hardtop drops in under 22 seconds flat, so you're never stuck waiting around at a red light with the top half open. Why it's sitting. The SLK has always lived in the shadow of the Porsche Boxster and BMW Z4 in enthusiast conversation, so shoppers skip right past it. You're getting folding hardtop convertible engineering for less than a new economy hatchback. Known issue worth naming. The hydraulic roof pump wears out with age, so cycle the top several times before buying and listen for hesitation. The SLK is the weekend toy. The next car is the one that quietly outclasses the 4-door competition from Munich. Number 5, Mercedes-Benz CLS500 W219, $8,000 to $16,000. Mercedes basically invented the 4-door coupe category with this car, wrapping a 5.0-liter V8 making 302 horsepower in bodywork, so low and sleek that it barely reads as a sedan. It carries the same platform bones as the E-Class of its era, but nobody cross-shops it that way. Step inside and you get real aluminum trim, a low, wide dash, and seating position that still feels sharp instead of dated. Why it's sitting. People assume anything called a coupe with 4 doors is a gimmick trim, not a genuinely rare shape Mercedes built almost nothing else like. You're getting hand-drawn Mercedes styling and a naturally aspirated V8 for less than a fully loaded Honda Accord. Known issue worth naming. The Airmatic air suspension compressor wears out over time, so budget for that or look for a car where it's already been swapped. The CLS wears the styling crown. The next car wears the flagship crown, and it used to cost more than most people's houses. Number 4, Mercedes-Benz S430/S500 W220, $10,000 to $20,000. This is the flagship S-Class from the era when Mercedes still built these things like bank vaults. The S430 runs a 4.3-liter V8 making 275 horsepower, while the S500 steps up to a 5.0-liter V8, both wrapped in a cabin that isolates you completely from the outside world. It originally stickered north of $70,000. When the air suspension is working the way it should, Potholes just disappear and rough highway pavement feels like glass. Why it's sitting. People assume any flagship luxury sedan this age is a money pit waiting to happen, and they never bother pricing one out. You're getting genuine top-of-the-line Mercedes engineering for less than a base Toyota Camry. Known issue worth naming, the Airmatic air suspension is the well-documented weak point on this generation, so a car with coil-over conversion or fresh air struts is worth paying extra for. We've covered 3 cars already, and every one of them costs less than a brand new Corolla. The back half of this list gets a lot more serious, because these last 3 used to carry price tags most people only dreamed about. Number 3, Mercedes-Benz E55 AMG W211, $15,000 to $25,000. When this car launched, it was the fastest production sedan money could buy. The heart of it is a hand-assembled, supercharged 5.4-liter V8, making close to 470 horsepower, shoehorned into an otherwise unassuming executive sedan body. It will still walk away from plenty of modern performance cars in a straight line. 0 to 60 comes up in the mid 4-second range, and it does it while hauling 4 adults and their luggage in real comfort. Why it's sitting? It looks like a normal E-Class from 30 feet away, so most shoppers never realize what's actually under the hood. You're getting supercar embarrassing horsepower in a 4-door daily driver for less money than a new base model Civic. Known issue worth naming. The Sensotronic brake control pump on these cars is a documented failure point, so confirm it's already been replaced before you buy. The E55 hides in plain sight. The next car doesn't hide from anyone. Number 2, Mercedes-Benz C63 AMG W204, $22,000 to $38,000. Mercedes shoehorned a hand-built, naturally aspirated 6.2-liter V8, making 451 horsepower into a compact sedan chassis. And the result is one of the last genuinely unhinged performance cars the brand ever built before turbochargers took over the AMG lineup. It revs past 7,000 revolutions per minute and sounds like nothing else on this list. The exhaust note alone is worth the price of admission, a deep V8 growl at idle that turns into a snarl once you're past 4,000 revolutions per minute. Why it's sitting? Shoppers hear about head bolt failures on the earliest examples and assume every C63 is a ticking time bomb when the facelifted cars fix that flaw at the factory. You're getting a naturally aspirated, 451 horsepower AMG V8 for less than a loaded Toyota R AV4. Known issue worth naming, stick to 2012 and later models, since Mercedes redesigned the head bolts that year. And even then, a cold start listen for camshaft adjuster rattle is worth doing before you buy. The C63 is the last great naturally aspirated AMG sedan. What comes next is the badge everyone assumes costs 6 figures no matter what. This next one is the biggest value gap on the entire list, and if you'd rather not go hunting for the next breakdown like it, subscribing now means it just shows up. Number 1. Mercedes-Benz G500 W463, $28,000 to $48,000. The G-Class has been in continuous production since the late 1970s, built on a genuine body-on-frame chassis with 3 locking differentials and portal-style ground clearance that has nothing in common with a modern crossover. The G500 runs a 5.0-liter V8 making close to 292 horsepower, and it still looks nearly identical to the brand new version that costs well over $140,000. 3 locking differentials mean it'll crawl over terrain that would strand most 6-figure luxury SUVs, and it does it while looking like a small tank in the school pickup line. Why it's sitting? People assume the G-Wagon badge alone means 6-figure money, so they never even check what an early example actually costs. You're getting the same silhouette celebrities pay 6 figures for less money than a fully loaded Chevrolet Tahoe. Known issue worth naming plainly, the rear differential cover and frame rails are prone to surface rust in salt belt states, so a lift inspection before purchase is non-negotiable. The ML350 is for the family that needs space and all-wheel drive. The SLK350 is for the weekend top-down cruiser. The CLS500 is for the buyer who wants a shape nobody else has. The S430 and S500 are for the buyer chasing flagship comfort. The E55 AMG is for the buyer who wants a supercar disguised as a sedan. The C63 AMG is for the buyer chasing the last great naturally aspirated V8. The G500 is for the buyer who wants the most recognizable badge in the lineup. The stereotype said these cars would bankrupt you. The market already moved on without telling anyone. Drive safe.